Awesome. Well, Skyler, we just got done recording with Robert, BotSpot. That was a lot of fun, and we just talked for like 20 minutes afterwards. I wish would have recorded some of that, but yeah. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts?
Yeah, a lot of great insights from the conversation with Robert over at Lumi Wealth and BotSpot. Just how you can trade with AI and how you can create strategies, how you can backtest in seconds. I think that has a lot of application to our industry and what people are looking to do and where the industry is going using AI for trading, right?
Yeah, it's I could see definitely a lot of hedge funds use this, and that's definitely the case. But a lot of hedge funds kind of maybe even move over to this, where hey, he's got a marketplace. It's
Yeah.
company's young, but it's really cool. Like I like to trade discretionary, and I feel like this is something that I'd love to dive into and just kind of see, what could be done here. Maybe don't need to sit at the computer for 8 hours a day anymore as a day trader. You kind of just automate a lot
Yeah.
of these strategies that you're doing.
Right. You just test out multiple strategies, have your own analyst on standby, if you will, that can do things in seconds. Your analyst, which is an AI, assistant, essentially running through the numbers for you in real time. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, creating the tear sheets and all that. So awesome. We'll leave it to it. Thank you for tuning into the All Funds Network podcast, and interview starts now. Thanks for tuning into the All Funds Network podcast. My name is Mike Schroeder. Today we're here with my co-host Skyler Steinke, and we are joined by Robert Grzesik. Robert is the CEO of Lumiwealth and BotSpot. So we're going to be talking about automated trading today. It's going to be the key topic. But Robert, it's great to have you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You started coding at the age of 12. Let's start there. How'd you get into this?
Yeah, I was definitely pretty young. I was actually even, it depends on kind of what you call coding. I was making even like websites when I was younger than that, like maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. I got to credit my dad with that one, to be quite honest with you. He was an electrical engineer. So he brought home a computer when I was pretty young and kind of taught me how to use it, right? Because they did like AutoCAD drawings and stuff like that with computers. And electrical engineer kind of makes sense, right? So he introduced me at a very young age to like how to use DOS, and we used to like make games and stuff with like the kids in the neighborhood and stuff like that, because the kids down the street, they worked in the same sort of thing. So so I guess I got to credit my dad with that one. Just started learning at a very young age. Started making like little websites on like GeoCities and stuff, if you guys remember that back in the day. And then kind of really got into coding more because I was playing too many video games, I think. StarCraft was kind of the game of choice, and it was just like making little robots for StarCraft, and kind of one thing led to the next, And here we are 30, 40 years later, or quite a few years later.
That's really cool. So maybe walk us through kind of from childhood what you started doing, how you kind of kept that passion getting into kind of more of the trading aspect.
Yeah, sure. So started coding at a young age. Back then I was doing a lot of stuff with like video games, as kids do, right? I made my first like online business, we can call it, when I was around 15 years old. I made a hack for a game called Diablo 2 back in the day, something called the item grabber. It would like automatically pick things up for you, and ended up kind of being a way to cheat in the game, which is very appealing to a lot of people. So I started selling that through PayPal. $15 a pop, first day, 1 sale, next day, 3 sales, next day, 10 sales. I just went exponential. I was like, holy crap, started making a lot of money doing that. As I remember back then, my dad used to always tell me, get off the computer. And then I showed him the thing coming from PayPal. He's like, no, keep going. Keep doing
Stay on the computer.
That was kind of a fun memory. But yeah, I mean, that got me really interested in computers. Obviously, I was kind of always interested in computers. But business as well, right? Like seeing that this can actually be quite profitable, and you could see some pretty amazing gains from it. I was like, this is pretty cool. So I decided to go to business school. After I finished business school, I did my master's in finance. To me, it just kind of makes sense. Finance and software really make a lot of sense together, right? Because, first of all, you can make a lot of money doing it. But second of all, there's a lot of data that you can use. So I kind of had the idea back then that theoretically, a powerful enough computer could almost solve the stock market, right? So funny enough, we're kind of still doing that today, right? So finished grad school, did my master's in finance, and then decided to start a business with a friend of mine. Business went well. We sold it, made enough money for me to travel the world for a little bit. So went to a bunch of different countries and then landed in New York, which was, kind of, let's get into the Wall Street dream. Let's try to build that out, right? So I worked for a few Wall Street type companies, and then I worked for Voyager, which was basically a competitor to Coinbase back in the day. I was like employee number 4, number 5, and that business went really well. We went from a couple people in a WeWork to I think we hit like 100 people at one point in time. Had $1 billion valuation. So I had stock options. I was pretty damn happy. I sold a bunch of them, and then a few weeks later, FTX crashes and takes the whole company down. Basically, a company called Three Arrows Capital owed us $650 million or something like that.
Yeah.
When someone defaults on a loan that big for a startup, I mean, you're basically done.
Yeah.
So that ended the company. But before all that happened, I kind of went off and started Lumiwealth, which is what we're working on now. The intention behind Lumiwealth from the very beginning was basically to bring that dream of let's use software to make investment returns better, right? So we started that off with education, teaching people how to build trading algorithms using Python. And then about a year ago, a very important thing happened, which was ChatGPT came out with the O1 model, which basically gave rise to this whole vibe coding type thing. And that's basically what we've built now. We have a website, BotSpot, which is kind of like vibe coding for trading, right? You could vibe trade in a way, vibe trading algorithm, build vibe trading algorithms, right? So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Very cool. For those listening, what is vibe trading? Or
So vibe
coding?
trading, maybe we could coin the term. It's but vibe coding, for those of you that don't know what vibe coding is up until about a year ago, right? And this is kind of when we launched our website, was about a year ago, because of this whole phenomenon that happened. Is whenever you used to write software code, it used to be very, very difficult, right? For those of us that have been doing this for a long time, it takes years and years to learn how to do this stuff. And we would teach people how to build trading strategies with Python. It would take them months or years to learn this skill on how to do that, right? It's like you got to know if statements and if this, then that, and connect to this data source. And like, there's a lot of stuff involved, right? Yeah. So what we've created is basically like a vibe trading website, or we could say vibe trading algorithm website, where vibe coding allows you to code by just talking to it, like either verbally, like physically. You can actually use your voice as well, or just typing it out saying, I want to make a website with a to-do list and a green checkbox or whatever. And you could do that kind of stuff. It'll build it for you. There's a lot of really cool websites that do that now. Like Lovable is a really cool one. For example, if you've never tried it, we're taking a lot of inspiration from Lovable, where you could go there and you could code a website up by talking to it. Whereas we want to make it so you could talk to it and it will code up a trading strategy for you. So instead of saying, I want a website with a blue check mark and, a to-do list, and I want it to do X, Y, Z, you could say, hey, make me a trading strategy that trades Tesla call options in the money, rolls them once a week with a 3-month out expiry date. And you can kind of give it all the details behind that, right? And then it will build that for you, give you visuals behind it. You can see flow charts. You can back test it, see how it would have performed in the past. We help you deploy it. Makes it really easy to deploy, test it out with fake money than real money. So we really allow you to, vibe code trading strategies is what we really do.
So that's really cool. Do you have like kind of some templates or things you guys have put out there, built yourselves, or is it all self-driven by an individual to build on their own?
Yeah, so we have a marketplace, right? So this is something we launched maybe 2 weeks ago, which I don't even know if last time we spoke, if you guys even knew about that.
I think it was right before,
right.
Yeah, right before, yeah. So it's launched now. It's available on the website. So we've put a bunch of our strategies up there so you can kind of just see them, see the backtesting results, see how they're performing. And if you like them, you can trade them, backtest them, or you can copy and modify them, right? Like, for example, we have one up there for trading Palantir, right? Palantir's been this incredible growth story, right? And actually, one of our clients started trading Palantir call options because of one of the strategies we made. He won't tell me exactly how much, but I'm willing to bet, high six figures trading this stuff, considering he actually just invested in us and gave us 10 grand like it was nothing. But yeah, so we have a trading strategy up there. For example, it trades Palantir, right? Trades call spreads on Palantir, rolls them once a week or something like that. So you can just go there, run it if you want to, or what some of the people on our website have done, have copied it and then modified it to go, no, I don't want to trade Palantir. I want to trade Tesla, or I want to trade MicroStrategy, or whatever you want to do there. You can modify it and have it run that way too.
Okay, so let's get into kind of like what's the universe of tradable assets in terms of, like you mentioned, options there. I assume you could trade stock, maybe crypto.
Yep.
Maybe let's start with that part. Yeah, what's the universe of assets?
Yeah, so we allow you to trade crypto, stocks, futures, and options.
Okay.
Right? And that includes index options as well.
Got it. And then with in terms of like the limitations of the software, kind of, what can I ask it to do? I imagine it's pretty simple to say something like, every time it crosses the 50-day moving average, sell or buy. Kind of give us. I'm sure there's a lot of variables, but kind of give us some kind of scope of the variables that could be used.
Sure. So kind of the advantage of the way that we've built out BotSpot, as opposed to, we have other competitors that kind of just try to do the same thing with like drag and drop and whatever. The advantage of us is we're using Python to actually create these things. So there's really not that many limitations. It's kind of just limited by how much effort are you willing to put in to make the thing work, right? So when you're using Python, you could do things like it connects to all sorts of random data sources. Like you can make it download satellite data and trade based off of that. I was speaking with someone earlier today. They're like a news data provider. You could hook it up to news and basically trade off of them. Maybe you have someone that has trading signals that gets sent to your email address. You could check your emails and trade based off of that. So there's really like not a lot of limitations. The limitations are mostly based on what Python is able to accomplish, which is a lot. You know what I mean? It is one of the most popular programming languages in the world. So it has a lot of capabilities. Like at this point, I mean, I don't know what Python can't do, like give it a couple of years, we'll be able to build a house for you using, robots and stuff, So that's kind of the advantage of what we have is we don't have a lot of limitations. It does take some effort to do the more difficult things, but as AI gets better, it's going to be easier and easier to do.
Yeah. So I guess on that topic, do you have to be a coder to use the platform? Obviously you can be a trader, but to your point, by coding, you just tell what to do via verbally, or you query it like ChatGPT and it just creates the strategy for you, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want you to have to be a coder, right? We do have quite a few coders that are using our platform, and they've gone off and they built something and then they'll go to our platform to kind of make it for them. And it's like this helpful, assistant for them. But really the aim is to have something that you do not need to code at all, right? That this is something that will fully handle that for you. It depends on how complicated of a strategy you're doing. You might still need to dig into things a little bit. But our end goal is, you don't need a code at all. You talk to this thing and it builds it for you.
Very nice.
So somebody like me, like I'm not a coder. I've never been a coder. But this is something that fascinates me because I love to trade. More so like on the technical side. But talk to us about implementation. So we use BotSpot. We create this algorithm using Python. How do I get this Python script to make these trades using my TD Ameritrade account or my Coinbase account or whatever?
Sure. So we work with a bunch of different brokerages. So that's, I think, the first good point. We don't have Schwab on the website just yet. So you mentioned TD Ameritrade. Schwab is, they acquired them. So we can work with Schwab. We don't have it on the website yet. If someone like yourself wanted that to be a feature, we could accelerate that and that'll be available soon. But yeah, we work with a bunch of different brokerages, Coinbase, Alpaca, Tradier, a lot of the prop trading firms. For those of you out there that care about prop trading, Top One, Top Step, like all the prop trading firms. So we work with a lot of them. That all kind of connects through the website. But yeah, so basically what you would do is you'd go to the website and maybe I could even show you a demo.
Go for it. Yeah.
let's show you what this looks like.
Obviously, this will be video, so a lot of people can see this, but there are also a lot of audio listeners. So maybe as you go through it, kind of keep that part in mind. If you're listening right now, maybe you want to check this out on YouTube too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, more of a reason to go to YouTube to watch your videos.
There we go.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so what you would do, this is a couple of things on the website, right? So here's BotSpot. You can create and deploy AI trading agents in seconds, right? So kind of the main thing here is you want to click on create an AI strategy, right? So when you click on that, you see something that hopefully looks very familiar, right? This is kind of like a ChatGPT type of chat box. Lovable has a very similar looking interface. Again, we took a lot of inspiration from them because I think they're fantastic at UI. So let's say we've seen a couple of examples scrolling across here. See, make an options bot that trades Tesla, or design a mean reversion bot. I'll just do one that I know actually has worked in the past that I actually really like. Is we'll say make a strategy that trades TQQQ. Buy it if it's above the 200-day moving average, right? And then sell and hold cash if we are below the 200-day moving average, right? So very simple. You can get a lot more complicated than this, right? But this is like a really simple, like swing trading type thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll buy, so TQQQ, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's triple leverage NASDAQ. It is a very, very well-performing asset in the long run. If you bought it from when it went public, I think in 2010 or 2011, something like that, you would have made like a 25,000% return. It's crazy, right? So one hell of an asset. However, what people don't tell you when they look at this sort of thing is the drawdowns are very extreme, right? So for example, in 2022, when we had that bear market a couple of years ago, it had a drawdown of something like 80%, right? So imagine going, fine, your portfolio's up 25,000%, but then you have an 80% drop in a single year and you lose a lot of that. And most people kind of get squeamish and they won't want to own that anymore, right? A lot of people say they're okay with 80% drawdowns, but then when it actually happens, it's a different story, right? So what we made here is basically a swing trading bot that can trade that, right? It's very easy. Again, I just wrote out that sentence. I basically wrote out to the AI, make a strategy that trades TQQQ, buy it when it's above its 200-day moving average, and sell when it's below its 200-day moving average.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple, right? I gave that to the AI. I hit generate. It takes about a minute or two to make it. And then now we see the strategy that was built here, right? We see TQQQ SMA trend is the name we got. We have a how your strategy works that basically explains what the AI did. So for example, it says this is a simple trend following strategy that trades TQQQ using a 200-day moving average. It looks for the long-term trend to be positive and participates only when price is above that trend line. When the trend line turns negative, it exits and stays in cash, right? And then it gives you some bullet points here. So first calculate the 200-day moving average, then compare the latest price to that, and then it buys if the price is above, right? So pretty straightforward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Swing trading strategy, pretty easy, right? And again, you can get so much more complicated than this. You can get it to like read the news for you, and only if the news is positive sentiment, or you could get it to trade a few different assets at the same time, or you could get it to trade the opposite.
Really interesting about the news, actually. Could you talk more about that?
Yeah, sure. So there's a bunch of different ways they could trade based on the news. If you have your own data feed, you can kind of use that. What we recommend is to use Perplexity. Perplexity is an AI that has really good search capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So you could basically, if you were to tell this thing, say, use Perplexity to check the news today, and you could do all sorts of crazy stuff, right? Like we've had people build biotech trading strategies, for example, right? Where you could say, check the news or look at companies that are currently in phase 3 drug trials.
Yeah,
And if it looks like they're going to get approved. Yeah, exactly. Right. And if it looks like they're going to get approved, then buy those stocks and hold them for X amount of time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one thing you could do. Or you could get it to like, check for, Fed meeting minutes. Right. And if it looks like we're going to lower rates, then buy, leveraged SPY or whatever. Right.
Yeah. There's a lawsuit for this company, or
Yeah.
XYZ.
Right.
How frequently could Perplexity, maybe too much technical question, but like how is Perplexity like, oh, that this news just happened, like, sending signal?
Yeah, I mean, the way that you can do it either way. It's Python, and you can kind of have it send you information if you have a news feed like that, or you could just have it check every X amount of time. I think the easiest way to do is just say check every 1 minute. You're going to pay for you have to pay for API key, or like API tokens with Perplexity, but it doesn't even get that expensive. We did the math once. It was like, even if you're checking once every minute, you're maybe paying $10 or $20 a month for tokens with Perplexity.
Sorry to take us down the rabbit hole. I'll let you proceed with what's here at the screen. But thank you.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. I mean, we also we have an AI bootcamp where we teach people how to do this, and we have like an entire day just dedicated to doing news trading.
Awesome.
So it's definitely something that a lot of people are interested in.
That's really cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge too, educating kind of the process. Somebody who wants to do this, and then obviously implementing that in real time, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you could go to a website and you could just, try to figure it out. But as with any AI, there's always some sort of learning curve, learning how to work with it better, right? So we do have those courses if people need some extra help, right?
Yeah. And actually on that note too, like who uses BotSpot? Is this primarily like somebody like myself, like a retail trader, or is this, or you see institutions using this?
Yeah, right now it's mostly retail traders using it, even though a lot of them do work at the bigger institutions. Like, for example, one of our clients, he works at a pretty large hedge fund, right? And he does money management for a living, but then with his own personal capital, he's building stuff with BotSpot, right? So right now we're mostly retail traders, mostly like quite a few like sophisticated retail traders as well. But we are working to get more into the B2B space, right? So we've actually been raising money right now. I've been talking to a lot of investors, and the way that we are positioning ourselves when we speak to investors is we are the AI platform for money management, right? Which implies that's not just trading, right? Like the future of BotSpot, where we want to get to, is being able to control like bank accounts and treasuries, and potentially even trading real world assets like houses and cars and things like that. So we really want this to be like the one-stop shop for all things money management for AI, right? It's kind of where we want to get to. And one of the reasons for that is because we really want to get into B2B transactions, right? We want to make it so that if you're a bit like, for example, a friend of mine runs an insurance company, right? And they basically take in funds from clients, and every month they pay them a fee. They're allowed to hold it in treasuries or something else that earns interest for a certain amount of time. And there's like all these like legal regulations around it, whatever, right? So we could actually build a bot. It's not currently possible, but this is where we want to get to, that you'd create a bot that says, hey, look at this database of all of our clients that we have, right? Look at when they're paying us. Make sure that you go into the bank account, this specific bank account, take out that money, and then put it into this treasury bill for 30 days. After 30 days, move it to this other bank account and send it off to someone else.
It's really cool.
So we want to get it to...
That's like crypto would be the perfect rails for that, it sounds like.
Yeah, crypto is definitely a big part of that plan. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, for corporations, I think still US dollars is the main asset that they're using. But crypto is very fast, up and coming, and we definitely want to be a big player in that as well. Yeah, especially DeFi, right? Because DeFi allows you to do a lot more than just trading crypto. It's also you could do lending and other things like that. So we want to give users the ability to do that as
strategies
well.
There.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Instant settlement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, we keep taking it out.
No, it's great. I love it.
This is great. Let's proceed here with what you got on the screen.
Yeah, we're geeking out on money management AI. I love it. Awesome. Okay, so you can see here that it generated a strategy, TQQQ SMA trend strategy. It told me how it works in plain English. It also generated a flow chart, so I could look at this flow chart and see how it works, right? So you can see it initialize, and then is it valid price? If the price is above the simple moving average, yes. And then are we holding it? Yes. And then if we're already long, don't do anything. If we're not holding it, then buy shares, calculate how many to buy, right? So you can see in a flow chart here visually how this thing works.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you care to see it, there's the code that's hidden by default.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that on purpose because we don't want you to have to worry about code, right? But let's say you're a coder, or if you want to, kind of dig into it, even if you're not a coder, you can, get other AIs involved. Then you have access to the code here, and that's fully yours. You can do whatever you want to do with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's kind of what you have. At the bottom, if you want to modify it further, you have another text box down at the bottom. You can say, wait a minute, no, I don't want to do 200-day moving average, or no changes to use U Pro as opposed to TQQQ. You could tell all of that in this box here, right? And you could continue to refine it, and we track the versions. You could actually see your progress throughout the whole thing, right? So all that's available to you there. And then a lot of the times what people will do, and kind of what we recommend doing, is once you build a strategy, you should backtest it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not every single strategy is backtestable. Some strategies just you can't backtest because there's certain limitations to them, mostly revolving around data. Like, for example, if you're trading news, that's harder to backtest because it's just difficult to get news data going back very far.
Yeah.
Right.
In time. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But something like this, a swing trading bot, we definitely can backtest. So I'm going to put this back to, let's say, 2012, January 1st. We're going to go from January 1st, 2012 until October 2nd, 2025. And then when we do that, first of all, we see kind of all the things that happen in between. There's the 2022 bear market. There's a 2015 China crisis. You can kind of see all that. And then you can hit run backtest. Okay, and this thing's going to backtest for you. And then as it's going, you're going to basically see a little chart to see how it's doing when it's backtesting. This is a cool little feature that we added in like a week or two ago. But basically, you'll see it start backtesting. It'll take like a few seconds to do that. And then you start seeing it progressing, right? So, a backtest like this for a couple of years, this is going back 13 years. For a stock trading algorithm, this is probably going to take maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes to do, right? And you'll be able to watch the graph as it's backtesting to see how it's progressing throughout this whole thing, right? So I'll give that a second to get started.
Cool.
Okay, so here's the backtesting result, right? So you can see here it backtested that TQQQ strategy. We went from 2012 all the way to 2025, right? So about 13 years of backtesting. This strategy, this is why it's one of my favorites, is the annual return is quite good. It had a 39% annual return. I think most people would say that's a pretty good return, with not that crazy of a drawdown. 42% drawdown, 39% annual return. I mean, that like smokes the stock market. So when you get this, you see the backtest, you actually get a lot of things with it, right? So for example, a lot of people like looking at the tear sheet, right? So open up the tear sheet, and here is basically a really detailed analysis of how this thing went, right? So you can see in blue here is our strategy, and then in yellow is S&P 500.
Okay, that's actually cool. If you could zoom in on that. So like in like 2022, it had sold during that. That's why it's flat, I assume, right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was below the 200-day moving average, so it sold, sat in cash for a couple months, and then when the moving average came back, or when it was back above the moving average, it entered back in, right? So again, it's like you're owning TQQQ, which is a fantastic asset to own long term, or it has been at least, but you're getting rid of those drawdowns, right? So you have a much more, or at least historically, it has gotten rid of a lot of those drawdowns. Right. So the biggest drawdown here was 42% for the strategy over a 13-year period. Actually, almost longer than 13 years now. Right. But if you had owned TQQQ, you would have had like an 80, 90% drawdown. So you're saving yourself a lot of that risk by doing this. At least historically you have. Right. And then you can compare it versus the S&P. Right. So you can see here in real terms, the strategy just dominates S&P 500. Like it's way down here. It looks like S&P was flat compared to the strategy almost, right? When you look at it volatility match, this is like taking into account the fact that it's riskier. They're a little bit closer, but you can see we still are pulling ahead, and it's a lot because we're just missing out on those big drops. So here, the 2020 crash, it would have avoided. The 2022 bear market, it would have avoided. So because of that, even with the extra risk it's taking, it's still beating the S&P 500 on a risk-adjusted basis.
Yeah. I think,
right?
I mean, the strategy itself is cool, but let's get into some kind of like the metrics that you're looking at here. Like,
Sure, yeah. So we got a bunch of stuff here. We have the annual return. We have our Sharpe ratio. S&P had 67.67, whereas this strategy had a 0.9 over the same time period. We have the correlation to a benchmark. We have Sortino ratio. So you have all these different things you can look at. The distribution of monthly returns. Do you have more left tails or right tails? Like, what is the distribution, right?
mhm.
You can see daily returns. You can see rolling beta, rolling volatility. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you can get into here, right? Like, if you want to nerd out on, investment analytics, like this is something that I think you'd really like. Right. So this is our tear sheet. But then also you get other things too. You get CSV files. The stats CSV file kind of tells you, what was your portfolio every single day? How much cash did you have? What was the value of your account? You can kind of look at that in a CSV file. You can get your trades as a CSV file if you want to do that in Excel or something like that. You get, trades as an HTML file. So you get a bunch of stuff here. Or you can click on view details and we'll give you a trading view chart where you can analyze this whole thing too, right? So it'll show you all the different trades. It'll show you the indicators that we're using, and you can really get into the weeds of it visually, right? Where, on trading view, you can add and remove different indicators and stuff, and we do that automatically for you here. So here is the equity curve. There's the account value. You see all the trades that happened. You can click into each trade. You can see that it bought TQQQ at a price of $24.93. It bought almost 100,000 shares of it. At that point in time, it had $2.5 million to spend. So this thing went from $100,000 account all the way up to millions. So it grew quite a bit, and you can kind of watch every trade that it did and how it got there. You can see your cash, right? So you can see here when the cash is lower, that's typically when we own something, and then cash will pop up when you sell. And we have here just sitting in like $2.8 million of cash for a little bit. You could see the price of TQQQ. You could see the price. You could see your moving average, right? There's a simple moving average they can compare it to, right? You can see, okay, the reason why it sold here, for example, is because the price of TQQQ fell below this moving average here. And you could actually like dig into it and see the numbers here. This is at 65 versus this here was at 67. So that's why it triggered a sell, and you can kind of go through that, right? And then you could also go through each individual trade like this too. This is all on a chart, a big table. You can see what was the trading fees, how much did you buy, what price did you buy it at, and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
This is really cool.
Very cool.
And so a lot of details. You can get a lot of details, right? Yeah. So that's the back test, right? If you wanted to, you could then, let's say I like this strategy, I want to start trading. I'll hit this big start trading button. And then I'll pick my broker. The broker we recommend is Alpaca. I think they're absolutely fantastic. But again, Schwab and a bunch of other brokers we're going to be adding very shortly as well. But let's say we pick Alpaca. For those of you that don't know who they are, they're kind of like Robinhood for algo trading, where stock trading is free, crypto trading is very cheap, and options trading is very cheap. They're international, so if you're outside of the US, you can still use them. They're a fantastic broker across the board. They're based out of San Francisco. They've just raised a lot of money, and I think deservedly so. So let's say I pick Alpaca, right? And then if I want to trade with that, here I already have an Alpaca account connected, but I'll disconnect that just to show you the process. So I'll click connect to Alpaca. It's going to open that up. And then basically I pick, okay, what account do I want to trade with? So I'm going to pick my live account, which is going to be ignored. And then I'll pick, which paper trading account do I want to trade with? I pick that, hit allow. And then basically that's it. It gets linked up. And you'll, once this is done, you'll be able to hit deploy strategy, and it could actually run that for you.
Okay. So you can
It's really cool.
paper trade first then, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. That's what we recommend people do, is that you start off with paper trading.
Yeah.
So that this is taking a bit longer, but you start off with paper trading so that you don't use real money. Because even if you made a strategy and you back tested it, sometimes there's differences between back tests and live trading.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like a broker might have different kind of margin requirements or whatever, right? So you'll go through that whole process, right? And then, so once you've linked your broker, you're going to go down here, you're going to hit deploy, and the strategy will get started for you, and you'll see something like this. I'll show you a couple that I have running. Here is, for example, actually this exact one, TQQQ SMA 200. This is a running version of it. I could go in, view live performance, and let's see how this one's been doing. It's up 5.1% since I started it. So pretty nice start. This is actually real money that I'm using. I started with like a $2,000 account, and it's up. Yeah, so we started with $2,069, and this one's up to $2,173. So I've made over $100
5%.
Yeah, 5% like 2 weeks, right? I'd say it's a good start.
Yeah.
You know? So
Very cool.
yeah, we started on September 24th, and it is currently October 6th. So yeah, about 2 weeks, 5.1%. I'd say it's a good start, right?
Yeah.
Say so.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
so there you go, sir. Strategy.
This is awesome. What are some of the, guardrails and risks that are in place?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of risks, it is AI after all. So AI does make mistakes. So this is why we recommend back testing and paper trading things to make sure that things are working correctly before you start throwing real cash behind stuff. So there's a risk involving AI that you know how AI is, right? You tell it to do one thing and it does something totally different sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So there's always that risk involved, but we try to mitigate that risk as much as possible by giving you back testing tools, by giving you a flow chart that describes it, by putting it out in plain English, how it works. We're also going to be adding the ability for you to like ask questions to the strategy. So you could actually say, does this trade, whatever, does it have a stop loss? You could just like ask it questions like that, and it can answer those questions for you. So we kind of mitigate that risk that way. Then of course you want to back test it. You'll see how it actually performs historically, right? And then you'll want to paper trade it, and you'll see how that works that way as well. So that's kind of ways that we got risk.
Could you ask it just like how could test like unlimited variables, and how can you make this better? Like, could you just keep asking it that and keep asking it that?
Like a feedback loop.
Yeah. We actually added in this really cool feature a few weeks ago where, so let's say I go to this strategy here, right? And I can go back to edit strategy. And what I could do is I could say, make this more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that right now because this is one that we have live on our marketplace. So I don't want to mess up with other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if I ask it something like, make this more profitable, a lot of times it actually works pretty well, right? Because what our AI will do is it will take your back testing results, it will take your live trading results, analyze all the trades and all the logs and how your equity curve performed and what you owned when. And all of that gets analyzed by AI and basically put through the ringer, right? So when you say make this more profitable, it's going to actually analyze all of your trades, all of your equity curves, everything you've owned. How is it back testing? How is it trading? Take all that data and then feed that into another AI that's going to say, okay, I know all this information, and now how would I make this more profitable, right? And it could say, okay, well, it lost money on this trade on March 5th, whatever, right? So maybe we should have a stop loss, right? And they'll say, okay, well, it lost money on this specific thing, so maybe we should do something there. Or it might be a strategy that just wasn't that, maybe you had a good risk to return ratio, but it's just not taking enough risk. And you can kind of think that through as well. So a lot of times people just say, make this more profitable, and it actually just works, which is pretty damn cool. Okay, so now that's basically if you want to make your own strategy, right? Which some people want to do, some people don't, right? Some people, if you have a strategy in mind, this will be great for you, right? Because you can build out your strategy. Then you could do like what if analysis on it. It's like if you're trading Palantir or something, you can say, well, what if I traded stuff in the money? What if I traded stuff out of the money? What if I had a 3-week expiry date? So you could do all that kind of stuff and really hone your strategy down. But a lot of people, they just kind of want to use something that exists, right? I'd say the majority of people are kind of like that, which is why we created the marketplace, right? So if you go click on view marketplace, you'll see that there's a bunch of strategies in there that we made and that other people in our community have made, and we're all sharing them with each other, right? So here's, for example, stock diversified leverage strategy. This one has an annual return of 20% through backtesting. It's up 21% in live returns already. If you want to do that, you could basically, this is mine, so there's an edit button, but for someone else who doesn't own this, they'd have like a copy and edit button, right? So you could copy this thing and then you can modify it if you want to. Right. So let's say I like this Apple deep dip call strategy, but I don't want to do it on Apple. I want to do it on Tesla. I could copy and edit, tell the AI changes to Tesla, and I could do it that way. Right. Or
Real cool question is someone sharing this out of the kindness of their heart, or are they, is it like kind of like trade along and get a profit, a portion of the profits or something?
Yeah, so that's where we want to get to. Right now, it's kind of like it's free, right? So if you want to share, it is kind of from the goodness of your own heart and sense, right? But what we're going to be adding soon in the next couple months is we're going to add the ability to monetize on this, right? So there's a limit to what we can do with that monetization. We want to make it so that if you're a registered investment advisor, you can actually charge based on AUM, right? Or if you're a hedge fund, we can put it up there and we can check, are these institutions investing in you or not? So we can potentially do percentages of AUM or on returns. But for the vast majority of people, that's just not illegal. That's not something that we can legally
Makes
do.
sense.
Right.
So yeah, so we're going to be doing it so that you could charge a monthly subscription fee, right? So let's say this person here who made the Apple deep dip calls, they'll be able to say, I want to charge $100 a month for this thing, and they'll put it up on the marketplace, and someone else can come along and say, hey, I like that, I'll buy it. They'll pay the $100 a month or whatever the guy's charging, right? And then we take a portion of that for running the marketplace, and then the rest of it goes to the person who created the strategy, right? So if you're someone who's good at building strategies, but you don't have a lot of capital, this is actually a great thing for you too, right? So you go in, build some killer strategies using the AI, and then start selling those things, and it's a good way to make some extra income, right?
Very cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I guess one question, Robert, regarding the you had a really good tear sheet too. That was actually a lot of great analytic data. Was that all through? Are you using vibe coding as well, or was it predetermination programming? Just there's a lot of information you put in one screen. I thought it looked really well, very clean, polished.
Yeah, so that's something that we've had around for a while. The kind of the history behind this is we created an open source Python library for those of people who are in the audience that code or whatever. It's called Lumibot. It's this open source Python library that we made like 5 years ago, and we keep improving on it. So we get a lot of stuff kind of just straight from that.
Amazing.
Right. So whenever we backtest something, it automatically creates this tear sheet with all the information. Right. So no matter what we backtest, that thing gets automatically created.
That's really cool.
I guess the other question on like the marketplace, do you foresee alpha decay?
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked that question a lot. If other people, so I guess a different way of saying your question is like, if a lot of people start using a strategy, is it going to stop being so profitable? Right. So first of all, I would love for us to get so big that becomes a problem.
Right.
Right. At this point, we're a startup. We don't have a ton of users. So if there is something on here that has some alpha, I think there's a good chance that you'll be able to run with that for a while. Right. So that's definitely the advantage of a newer platform. Right. But that's also why we have a marketplace. Right. When we originally started our business, we tried to go down the path of like, let's start a hedge fund and let's actually make trading strategies for people and sell those. And we made some pretty good ones and they're making money, but that is a tough business, right? Like trying to make a hedge fund or an investment fund that performs really well all the time is really
a lot
difficult.
of big brains. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like you're literally competing against like the smartest people on earth, right? With really, really big bankrolls, like BlackRocks or
Citadels.
Renaissance or whatever, Citadels. Yeah, exactly. Right. So the way that we decide to compete against those people is not to create all these strategies ourselves, but instead create this marketplace, right? Because instead of us trying to come up with the best strategy every single time, and this is the best one, and then no, this is the best one, whatever. When we have a marketplace like this, we could allow the community to do that automatically, right? So instead of Citadel, they have 50 to 100 PhDs working on their hedge fund. We can have 10,000 people building out strategies here, right? Who do you think is going to win, right?
Yeah.
So alpha decay, I think, maybe at some point will become an issue. Like I said, hopefully we get big enough for that to matter. Right. Yeah. But really this marketplace is kind of the solution behind that, right? Is that people are going to constantly be able to make new ones.
It's really cool.
Right. So if you have a strategy that was good and then stopped being so good, just just try a different one for the marketplace. You know?
I mean, it's great for idea generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
And you could even take something from the marketplace. Like I said, you could just copy and edit it, right? So you don't have to take the strategy as is. You could make it with your own flavor, right? So maybe you really like the way that it's trading options on Palantir. You like the call spreads and how that's all set up, but you don't like Palantir. Maybe you want to trade Microsoft instead. So you could just copy, edit, tell the AI, switch this to Microsoft, and off you go.
Right.
Absolutely. Cool. Anything else on the demo side you want to show us?
I think that's about it, right? Generating a strategy, creating a strategy, backtesting it, deploying it, and in the marketplace. Those are kind of the main things that we have on the website, other than education. If someone wants to take our AI bootcamp to learn how to build this kind of stuff, that's pretty much everything on the BotSpot website. Yeah.
How do you see the role of AI evolving? The future of trading. How do you see this kind of playing out over time?
I mean, I personally think that if you're not trading with AI, you're going to be at a significant disadvantage. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Right. Even, the hedge funds today, right? Like Renaissance, whatever, they've been doing AI for like a decade, right? Like this is not new for them. What's new is that AI is now becoming more powerful and more available to more people. Right. But, I find it really hard to believe that if you're trading in the future and you're not using some sort of AI assistant, I mean, you're going to get your butt kicked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people are just going to run circles around you.
Makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, this is really cool. I guess, Robert, any other features or functions that you are going to be adding by end of the year? You mentioned a few, obviously, relative to the platform.
Yeah, maybe like kind of roadmap over the next couple of years would be cool.
That'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's something that we think about all the time. And actually literally was having a full out conversation with ChatGPT about it yesterday. Because we're updating our pitch deck. Yeah, I mean, one really big thing is we want to start going and doing this stuff for businesses, right? So it's really cool to be able to do this to trade stocks and options and that sort of thing. I think it's even cooler if you can manage a business's like $100 million and optimize that, right? Optimize your float, put it into treasuries. In the meantime, get that extra percentage yield, maybe take a part of it and put it into some sort of like, whatever, right? Like there's all sorts of different strategies you can do with businesses for cash management, right? So that's something that we're really excited about doing, connecting to bank accounts and things like that to fully automate all that. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's one really big thing. We're also constantly working on a better AI, right? So we're going to be introducing like a more agentic type of AI where it's like a chat type thing, right? Because right now you talk to it and you tell it, build me a strategy, and it'll build that for you, or you could say change the strategy. But what you can't do right now, and what we want to add in, is being able to ask questions, right? So you might say, build me this strategy, right? And then you can just tell it, back test it for me from this period to this period. And then maybe you'd be able to tell it something like, back test this, but test out a few different things, right? Like what about if it wasn't 200-day moving average? What if it was 150 or 180 or 200 or 250? And you kind of give that to the AI and it'll run like 20 back tests for you all at the same time and bring back a result, right? That's another capability we want to add in. Maybe you want to ask questions about it, right? Maybe instead of saying, build me this new strategy, maybe you just want to ask, well, what happened in this back test? Why did it lose money in March, right? Why did it lose money on this trade? Is it doing this properly, right? You might want to just ask questions. We're going to have that. So a lot of new AI capabilities we're going to be adding in, and really kind of the crux of it is making it more like a ChatGPT experience, right? Where you can ask questions, talk to it, and then give it tools so it could go off and do things for you.
Yeah.
Right.
How about like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong in thinking this, but a lot of the metrics are kind of just like, like RSI, like price base, like, do you see a future where you could add like sentiment, or you could add like, I know like you've heard these stories, like, there's, they trade off like the moon being, full moons or the Bears winning.
Yeah. Well, you could literally do that right now. Just tell it to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So that stuff could be added.
Yeah. I mean, I stick to a lot of the price stuff because, a lot of people just like doing that.
It's my preference generally.
It's easy to show.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, this is Python code. So you could get it to do pretty much anything. You could get it to say, here's my access keys to my satellite that I have flying around the earth. Right. And like get it to look at, all the Walmarts across the
Right.
earth and tell me how many
The
cars are in the
parking
parking
lots.
lot. Like, you could do that. Like it's Python code, so it's very, very
Right.
flexible, right? As long as you're willing to take time with the AI, work back and forth with it, it could do all that kind of crazy stuff. Sentiment analysis, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
If code can make it, then you could run it through our website as well. Yeah.
Okay. So it could, I mean, code could do anything. So that's really cool.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we designed it that way, because we have other competitors that kind of like allow you to make different types of things. They're usually like this drag and drop thing that you could like, okay, well, if this happens, then bring this like thing over, and then okay, now it goes to here, and then this is like an if statement. It's like, first of all, it's very clunky to build something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Right, it's a lot easier to just talk to an AI and get it to do it for you. We still have a flow chart, but it's like after the fact, it's using code as opposed to the flow chart as the main thing, right? So first of all, it's kind of easier to do, but those types of drag and drop things, like they're fundamentally limited, right? Because they only have the tools that they provide to you, right? And if it's not one of those tools, forget it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the way that we do it is fundamentally different, right? We use Python, and because of that, everything that Python can do comes along with it, right? So you're really like vibe coding when you're doing this stuff. Like literally, you're doing vibe coding, right?
Yeah.
Instead of vibe coding a website, you're vibe coding a trading strategy.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's really, really cool thought process, this vibe coding aspect. I'm curious, where do you see vibe coding going? Because that's a new phenomenon with Lovable, with Cursor, Replit, all the different platforms. Obviously making your job and everybody else's much easier from a trading point of view. Where do you see that technology developing? Because there's so many things you can do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for starters, I could tell you, I've been coding for 25 years, maybe longer than that. I haven't written a single line of code in months.
Wow.
Like, it just doesn't make sense anymore, right? Like, I would tell the AI, do this for me. It could write like 1,000 lines of code in 10 minutes. Like, why the heck am I writing this anymore? So that's first of all. Like, I personally am a big believer that if you're working as a software engineer, software developer, we'll call it, and you're not using AI to generate code, I don't think you're going to have a job for very long. Right? It's like, but then again, the people that are using it now, they're able to do so much more with it, right? Because on the flip side, okay, fine, the people that, if you're stubborn and you decide to say, no, I'm not going to use AI, which a lot of software engineers, they're pretty pro AI. So I think that's actually going pretty well. But if you are someone who's like, no, I don't want to use it, then good luck with your life. You know what I mean? But if you are someone who does use it, then you are now like Superman, right? Like my software engineers are like 4 or 5 times more productive. Like, do you know how long it would take to put together a website like this? Like, we put the thing together in a couple of months with a small dev team. Like, this used to be, let's hire 30 people to build this thing for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So your velocity is just so much faster. And not only is your velocity faster, but now with AI tools, you could do more too, right? Like, for example, you're able to build like this chat experience where you could like talk to it. Like, that wasn't possible before, right? If Elon Musk has this way, you're going to have robots soon, and you'll be able to connect to those using software code, right? So now you'll be able to write software that like literally builds things in the real world, goes off and builds a house or whatever, manages a fleet of cars. You know what I mean? So AI is both making software engineering faster and easier to do, but also giving it more capabilities, right? So both of those things, I feel very positive about people that work in the software industry. As long as you're pro AI, as long as you're leaning into that, I think you have a very bright future.
Yeah. So I guess on that, so that's interesting thought process, because I think, for people who are experienced in coding, developers, your productivity, getting another job, I mean, you're going to have to be using AI. You're going to have to do so many more projects, right? Because you can do that now at scale.
Yep.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're not doing it, then the 21-year-old that just graduated from college will.
Right. Who knows?
Well, Robert, this has been a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you walking us through the platform. Where could people go to connect with you and learn more about BotSpot?
Yeah, thank you, guys. Obviously, you can go to website, botspot.trade, BOTSPOT.trade. A lot of people think it's .com. It's not .com. Botspot.com is something else entirely. So you can obviously go to the website, and then you can follow us on Instagram or YouTube is kind of the main platform that we use. So if you go to YouTube, you'll search up our company name, which is Lumiwealth, Lumiwealth, like illuminate your wealth. Then we actually produce a lot of content on there. So for example, we have every Thursday, we have a live session where I'm trading my own real money using the platform. So you can watch me either like make or lose money. It's kind of a fun thing. If you have a strategy, if you want to join, let me know what strategies you guys have in mind. We could build those out and actually try trading them. So that's a fun one. So yeah, if you follow us on YouTube, you could join us on these like weekly sessions that are live every week, or you could just follow us. We put out a lot of shorts. We put out a lot of different videos. So you kind of see what we've been up to.
That's awesome. Well, this has been great, Robert. We appreciate your time. We'll make sure to include all your contact info in the show notes as well. This has been a lot of fun.